In magic, we have white magic, black magic, and what people call grey magic. And the usual definition here is that white magic is good magic and black magic is evil magic, and grey magic is somewhere in between where you find a balance. Now, this I do agree with, here and there to a particular extent. But if we actually look at the terms themselves, I mean, they are just words. They're just terms, and often you find that it becomes a case of semantics and personal belief, obviously. Now, when it comes to the two, white magic and black magic, we can also refer to them as left-hand path and right-hand path. And right-hand path would therefore be esoteric, which would be working with energies outside yourself, so working with gods and goddesses and nature spirits, etc., and basically petitioning them to do the work for you, praying to God, please help me get this, do that, whatever have you. Whereas left-hand path, which is more exoteric, moves within and relies on yourself, you being the creatrix, you being God. Now, when we look at this in terms of white magic and black magic, I think there's a bit of a disconnection here. In my own definition, black magic is evil magic, but then it becomes a case of how you yourself define what evil is. To me, evil is something that goes against your own true will. So if you are doing something which is against your own true will, you are performing black magic. Are you performing white magic if you're doing the opposite? You're doing something that works for your true will? Sure, yes. But I don't particularly like to term things white magic and black magic. So at the end of the day, what it really becomes is what kind of magic you're doing. And I believe that you do need to have a balance, as long as it doesn't go against your true will. If it goes against your true will, then you're going to self-sabotage yourself, and there's no point in what you're doing. But if we do then define white magic and black magic as right-hand path and left-hand path, or esoteric and exoteric, then it all depends on what we're doing to accomplish the task that we want, which aligns with our true will. So it may be that the work you're doing is petitioning a deity, or it could be that you are working with your own energy, with your own self, and not looking to external sources to help you. So I think that should be, or in my case, that's how I define things. So to try and put it in a nutshell, I would say there is no such thing really as white magic and grey magic. There is black magic in the understanding that it's magic that works against your true will. And I'd rather not therefore define it as black magic. I would rather define it as I don't know, contrary magic. I'm sure you can think of a term. Just let me know what you think it is. But yeah, so I'd rather not use white magic and black magic. I'd rather use right-hand path and left-hand path, and finding the balance between those two. Because, as I say, black magic is just way up in the air, and white magic is way up in the air about interpretations and definitions. So I'd rather continue using exoteric and esoteric, or left-hand path and right-hand path. And it doesn't mean that right-hand path is all good and left-hand path is all evil. which a lot of people do define these two paths as. It's got nothing to do with good and evil. It's just got to do with the way you actually work and how you go about your work, whether you are, as I say, externalizing your work or internalizing your work. And there was actually a very interesting discussion years ago on the First Church of Satan's site. Lily Ali was in the discussion, and she was defining left-hand path, or defining the two, right-hand path, left-hand path. And right-hand path symbolism is the upright pentagram, and therefore spirit is pointing up to the heavens. So you're doing work that involves the deities. Whereas left-hand path is the inverted pentagram, where the point of spirit is pointing down to the earth. Therefore, you're moving the energy into the earth, and it's becoming inner work. And I love that definition. I thought it was actually probably the best definition I've ever come across. So consider that. And yeah, so I know this video was called Defining Black Magic, but I don't like defining black magic. I think anybody who calls themselves a black magician is simply some person who just likes the whole goth thing, really. I guess I suppose there are some black magicians out there who, as I say, it depends how you define the term black magic. So therefore, if you define it in a certain way, which aligns with what you do, and it purely being just left-hand path work, then, call yourself a black magician. I don't really mind what you call yourself. But I find a lot of people who call themselves black magician are all doom and gloom, and they come with all their goth regalia, and often it's not because they're goth, it's just because they want to appear that way. I was a punk in the 80s. I did my whole alternative scene thing and everything else, but I'm 48 now. I think I'm 48. I've forgotten how old I am. Somewhere around 48, almost 50. I'm not going to go walking around with eyeshadow on and, I just get my old leather jacket out with a big 6-inch spike on it or something like that, like I used to. I'm a bit older now, so I don't need to do those things. I don't need to prove myself. I don't need to prove that I'm a badass, let's put it that way. And I feel like a lot of people who practice black magic and call themselves black magicians are trying to portray that badass appearance. And then they start talking about summoning demons from hell. If you're going to start talking about hell, then you're actually a Christian, and all you're doing is just practicing something that's anti-Christian, and that's definitely not what black magic is in that terms. That's why I would prefer to actually define black magic as just something that is working against your true will, and then use left-hand path, right-hand path practices to define the type of work you're doing. But that's just me. If you disagree, that's cool. You can disagree, just write it in the comments and we'll have a little chat about it, I suppose. Anyway, that's it. That's this Sunday Soapbox, defining black magic, or not defining black magic. I'll see you next week. Have a good week. Cheers.